How you going, everybody? Welcome to the NFL Brekkie Show, Popular Demand Super Bowl Prop Special. Laz, we are here in Las Vegas, gambling capital of the world. And you have to ask yourself, anytime you're keen for a punt or a flutter, what are you really gambling with? For free confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Laz, we did this over the course of the season. I had a slight edge, but combined collectively, up of almost 5 units on the year over the course of the 20-odd weeks we did the show, hoping to keep the momentum going. You and I are on other sides of this game, which is not common for us. Margins, though, very small, we expect in Super Bowl 58, though we do hope to give places you can find some value on markets across tab.
There's a reason why I'm wearing the immortal Allen Iverson sweater today.
Strategic with the attire.
Well, let's think about it. AI was one of his nicknames. What was his other nickname? The Answer.
The Answer.
And that's what we're looking to provide today. Provide the answers for you
Bubba
guys to
Chuck.
have a big day on Super Bowl Monday
said
back
Bubba
home.
Chuck when you asked his other what is the
You didn't know what? Look, sometimes I take you down new narrative roads.
Could have prepared me in the hour we were hanging out before the show.
The element of surprise is not something we want lost.
No.
How many times have I led you down a terrible path that you regret, Phil? Don't answer that live. Let's think about that and come back to that later. No, this is one of our favorite shows of the year.
Yes.
This taps into our love of the novelty, love of player props, diving in deep. I think we do a good job of looking at both history, numbers, stats, and also looking at game narratives. Not getting caught up in mystical narratives, but looking at how we think game scripts will play out, what
100%.
we might see players being put into position to excel in different spots, play catch up in different spots. Maybe they're going to be good pass rushing scenarios, and that leads to certain things. So, look, this is one of our favorite shows of the year. We're pumped to be here. We will also, the backdrop of today is we're at Radio Row in Las Vegas. Yesterday, it was building. Yesterday, there were some guests coming through. Monday's a big setup day. Yesterday, people started to flow in. There were some guests around. Today,
Buzzing.
Oh, my goodness. It has erupted. Dan the Man Marino just walked past. We got all pros everywhere. We had a chat with Baker Mayfield earlier. We had the chat with Cam Haywood earlier. We got more stuff coming your way. Some other big names throughout this week. It is absolutely heaving here. The atmosphere is, it's hard not to be very pumped up.
Yes. And if you have any questions about some plays that you might want or our reflexive opinion on as well, fire them away in the chat. Laz and I are going to be talking about some top-level markets, some player markets, some of the novelty markets that really are only available during a game like Super Bowl 58. And again, if there's something that you were just wondering, you're kind of stuck, you have a play you want to make, let us know. So, Laz, this is a competition between you and I.
It is.
So let's lay it out things from the forefront. The main markets, who we have to win, and why. You look like you're pretty busy, so
no,
I'll
I'm not.
start.
I'm good. Multitasking. That's what we do in this. This is the economy. This is the age we're in.
Yeah.
All hands doing everything.
But Laz, this is a competition, and we don't want the art of surprise lost.
No.
So on prop shows past, I asked myself, what must one do if he wants a win head-to-head over in Australia? What's the best way to go about it? So, Laurie Horesh, I am going to have a little bit of a tire switch myself.
Oh.
When you want to win over an Australian, you wear all black.
I mean,
I have no problem with the villain role. The black cap, the black jersey. Let's roll.
I'm sorry. I got heat.
I will haka you.
I got heat.
Kia ora.
Not letting him know the meaning behind the Allen Iverson sweater today.
I've been wearing this for hours.
We spoke for an hour before the show, and yet here you are rocking one of the most imposing bits of sporting
Shouts
attire.
to the Barrett brothers, Rico Ioane. We're coming for you, Laz.
I mean, you're right though. Few items of clothing, particularly in the sporting world or anywhere, really strike fear in the hearts of Australian sports fans. An impending defeat, quite like the All Black strip. So well done you. Well done you. You can see you're thoroughly enjoying being in person. You miss me, I know. When I'm not close by and we're not doing these shows in person,
doesn't quite have the same impact.
I know.
Long distance.
I know. And when I'm not next to you, I find it so much harder to, find where the really good free food is and all that. All right, let's get into it.
Yeah.
Starting the top line, mainline markets.
Yes.
Right off the hooter.
Well,
who do you like?
We touch on this. You're on Kansas City.
Yes.
I'm on San Francisco.
Correct.
Something I want to dissect here. on tab right now. San Francisco's catching 2.5 points at $1.90, or you can get the 49ers straight up at $1.80. About 93% of NFL games are decided by 3 points or more. So there is some value in going with the $1.90 overall, but I think this game in particular, the margins are going to be so narrow. At a 24-22 scoreline wouldn't blow me away in San Francisco's favor. So for me, I'm going to sacrifice the margin and that market. Take San Francisco on the money line at $1.80.
I'm not overthinking this one. I have Kansas City winning this game straight up. You're getting them at $2 even, so I'm happy staying on that path when it comes to the money line. For me, it just comes down to, look, this matchup has been dissected, and we've looked at positional battles where, obviously, when you look at skill position, despite having an ascendant Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce having a fine postseason, we know there's the multitude of elite talent definitely slants towards the 49ers way. On the offensive line, I think there's been moments of underperforming and moments of promise from both, but across the five, I prefer the talent on Kansas City side, even though there's been those question marks at the tackle spots, and you got a tough edge rushing duo in Bosa and Chase Young that you have to deal with, not to mention other places that can get into that rotation. Defensively, there's massive talent everywhere. Think of the 49ers, some of those big name talents that I've just mentioned, some of those names, the linebacking core with Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. You got Charvarius Ward having a massive season on the back end. They do plenty of positive stuff there. I like the creativeness, the aggression, and the totality of the Kansas City Chiefs defense a little more. Love what you're getting from the secondary. You got McDuffie and Snead, two standout corners, working to the slot a little bit as well. You're getting production out of the multitude of safeties that they bring in. We're talking about linebackers. We're going to hear Nick Bolton's name today. Do not worry. Nick Bolton's name is coming up. And then up front, obviously, you may very well have the best defensive player on the paddock, although it's a tightly contested race when you think of some of the names I've already mentioned. Chris Jones is out there. And let's not mention, he's a fan favorite back home, George Karlaftis. Again, another name we're going to talk about. I lean towards the Chiefs. And so in that, when looking at the money line, you're getting that even nice 2-1. That's where I'm starting my bet.
And Laz, you're far from alone. On ESPN.com, we asked 64 experts across our NFL coverage their pick on this game. Nor did I, but 49 of the 64. It was 49-15 in favor of the Chiefs. Now, Laz, it was even more disparate, 52-12 on the over, 47.5. You and I vehemently disagree. And by the way, any of these plays that I give out, I'm going to play myself. We're in the entertainment capital of the world, so this is my vested interest, and I'll let you guys know if I'm playing this or not, if it's a lean. I am on the second half under, and I am on the game under 47.5. Has more to do actually with Kansas City than it does San Francisco. The caliber of their defense, they've gone under 14 times in 20 games this year. That's the third highest rate in the NFL. Only Carolina and the Chargers hit unders at a higher rate. And they're actually trending more in that favor as the season's gone on, even through the playoffs. As good as that offense has looked, Kansas City's gone under in 5 of the last 6. Give me the under 47.5 at $1.90.
We're on lockstep there. We're going the under. When you look at what Kansas City Chiefs give up per game, they're not having these games where they're allowing teams to score 30 points. They've gone into the high 20s just a couple of times, and that's been maxed out. So even if you're leaning towards the 49ers in this one, say the 49ers do get to that 27 mark, then you know Kansas City aren't putting a massive number up. So you're talking about like a 27-20 type of mark, 26 to 21.
I'd be sweating 27-20.
I'm sure you would, given that we'd have half a point to play with. But nonetheless, I think given the quality of scoring defense that Kansas City brings, and in all honesty, they've had some games where they've slowed down in the second half as well. They did not run away with that game against the Baltimore Ravens. Mike McDonald didn't hurt his eventual head coaching, not just chances, but his appointment with what the Baltimore Ravens did to that Kansas City Chiefs offense. It started really well and then slowed down just a wee bit down the track. So I like the under on this one as well.
Yeah, so I'm with Laz. And again, I do think margins are going to be small. I don't think this is going to be a game either way where there's a blowout. So if you're looking for a little bit more value from a San Francisco bet, a market I like, San Francisco, the winning margin to win between 1 and 10 pays $2.40. I know it's pretty specific, but if you're on San Francisco to win, you don't think they're going to run away with it. $2.40 for me presents great value there. Laz, we're going to be talking a lot about player props.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just kick it off. I mean, with one for me on the quarterback that I know you and I both like, Patrick Mahomes over 25.5 completions at $1.87. He led the NFL over the course of this season in screens completed, 95 of them. Those are functional long handoffs that count as completions. And San Francisco, one of the rare weaknesses of this defense, is defending screens. They're bottom 5, bottom 6 in the NFL in yards per attempt allowed on screens. I expect Kansas City to go to that well early and often. A Patrick Mahomes over completion props at 25.5. Whether you're on San Francisco or not, but certainly if you are on San Francisco and you think he's going to be throwing late, I think that presents terrific value.
What have we seen from the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers in this NFC run from the 49ers so far? The Packers set a really good template early. Attack those edges, get it out wide early. Particularly saw Aaron Jones have a nice day attacking the edge of that defensive line. Quick hitting runs, so the tosses out wide. I think they got the ball in wide receivers' hands quickly. We saw Detroit go to that well as well, particularly in that first half. Thinking about what Kansas City Chiefs have started to get going with Pacheco having seemingly building with some strength and some nuance as the season's gone on, as his health has gotten a little better in the last month or so. We've seen Rashid Rice certainly capable of taking one near the line of scrimmage early and getting those yards after contact, yards after catch. Travis Kelce, it would have stunned anybody if the game started with a nice little 6-yard out route to Travis Kelce, getting him outside the numbers quickly. I don't think we see Kansas City drop back and take big, deep drops right off the top and start firing downfield early.
Although Mahomes has been very good on the deep ball in this postseason, whereas he was very mediocre in the regular season. He's a guy who's matched his touchdowns on passes of air yards 15+ in the 2-3 playoff wins that he had for the entirety of the regular season. So he is willing to go over the top, but if anything, I think that just makes San Francisco respect it more and could open things up underneath.
And look, it is one of the reasons, and we're going to get to some of our check down chunk plays and game changes a little later, but one reason I'm leaning a certain way on one of mine is when you do have Fred Warner and you do have Dre Greenlaw there, they have a habit of shutting down, looming large in that intermediate level, and they rally to the ball quickly. But I think it would absolutely behoove the Chiefs. We'll see how the run game gets going early, but if they, as you mentioned, long handoffs, picking up those 4 or 5 yards on first down and staying ahead of the chains, which will open things up for we have seen what Patrick Mahomes has done in the playoffs, in these playoffs, previous campaigns, chucking that ball downfield, including a certain matchup that happened 4 years ago. A couple of big deep completions and DPIs, defensive penalties that he was able to draw, hurling those beautiful spirals downfield.
And again, if you have any questions on particular props that you're looking or just want our opinion on them, be sure to fire those away in the chat. Laurie's monitoring those and deleting the stupid comments that we get that have nothing to do with the show. Laz, but this is the Super Bowl. It is the most bet on game in American sport. $23 billion US expected to be wagered on this game in the United States this year. And that number certainly is going to increase as we head internationally. So you can bet on everything from the coin toss to the color of the Gatorade, to when the Gatorade may be dumped on either side. Laws, but it all gets going with the national anthem. So if you go to the American football tab, competitions, national anthem tab, well, the first market that jumps out is the length of the anthem. You and I are split.
We are. Look, usually I am one to go long. I was definitely hard on the long bet last year.
Nobody says that watching this show.
Thank you. Last year with Chris Stapleton, someone who I'd listened to copious amounts of music from, I saw the long notes, the long holds, dramatic pauses, that rhythm coming. It did not happen. He fell a few seconds short, depending on what line you got at different points of the week, but he did come up on the under there.
Yeah.
I thought he might carry, especially with the ability to control tempo with a guitar. Now, let's get to Reba this year. I have watched multiple full seasons of Reba, the TV show. I've gone through her music catalog.
Was unnecessary for the anthem wager.
Is it, though? We're talking about vocal quality. We're talking about your tempo. We're talking about your natural candor and your natural speed, your natural cadence. I'm trying to come up with other words with a curse sound at the top. It's alliteration. You're still studying in high school, shouldn't be doing the tap.
Being cacophonous.
So let's get back to this. I'm going with the under here. Watching all her anthems and tons of them in National Rodeo Show finals.
Under 88.5 seconds at $1.75. That's the market.
That's so 1 minute
88.5 seconds.
and a half
28
seconds.
short,
It's
man.
very short. She hasn't gone past, on record, 123, 124, depends how your stopwatch works, at any of those times. Yes, it's a bigger stage. But Reba is not someone that you look at her musical stylings. She's not someone from the country genre that goes on these extended long runs over and over and over and over and over. She doesn't lay those things out, thinking back to Lady Gaga style doing the anthem. You see her clip notes, that country style, the twang is heavy. She's authentic. She was one of the country music stars that when she came on the show, she was seen as someone bringing it back to traditional country, authentic country, where it got her away from some people in the late 70s and the 80s. This is the depth of analysis we're going to here. I think she keeps it moving. There's 4 to 5 seconds of wiggle room there that allows for the stage to take things out a little bit. A few dramatic pauses here and there, but this is, you look at the way she gets through this anthem. She is not someone who is going to consistently lay that thing out and let it hang to carry past that number, even though it's a short one.
This is a television production. I was out for a jog on the strip this morning, and they were practicing the flyover.
Yep, I saw it.
They have to time the flyover. We have not seen an anthem in a Super Bowl shorter than 88 seconds, which is the number she has to hit for the under to hit, since Jewel in 1998. It's been 25, 26 years. The over's got 9, 6, and 1 in the last 16 years. I love the value of the over here on $2 just because of the stage. You're watching all-star softball games from 2017 and World Series games from 9 years ago. This is a Super Bowl. They got to cue it up with F-16s flying from nearby Nellis Air Force Base. We're going over 88.5, not by much. It's going to be a stretch, but it's that natural pause as it goes through within the song that she's going to create space to get us over that 89, 90-second mark. And Laws, quickly, before we move on, we could wager on first quarterback shown on TV during the anthem. Patrick Mahomes at $1.60, Brock Purdy $2.25. Is there an easier way to print money than just to take the $1.60 on Mahomes?
Absolutely. We're going with Mahomes here.
Free money.
There's a number of big stars that they'll show from the 49ers before they get to Purdy.
Yeah, he won't even be the first 49ers shown, first quarterback shown. Patrick Mahomes at $1.60. Laws, while we're talking star power, there are loads.
Chat?
No.
A single mom who works 2 jobs, who loves her kids and never stops?
Not the one.
No?
Not that I'm aware of.
Out of a fighter?
Taylor, not the queen of country.
Okay.
We have a whole page of Taylor Swift novelties.
A whole page.
From where there'll be a proposal on the field at $10 for yes. Shown during the game. Let's just go there. Over under 7.5 times.
That's
now she's playing a concert in Tokyo.
Mm-hmm. If you hadn't heard.
Flying to Vegas and then going straight to Melbourne for the Australian leg of her tour. Brilliant. I think one of our analysts, by the way, is going to be at that Melbourne show.
I'm sure.
Maybe Mike T. Text him. Over under 7.5 times. Over $1.65. There's juice on the over.
Yeah.
Eight appearances is a ton. Give me the under 7.5 appearances by Taylor Swift at $2.15. And you're thinking, well, I think Travis Kelce's going to have a huge game. They're going to show her a lot if and when he gets a touchdown or a big significant reception. Yeah, so if you like that, just take Travis Kelce to get multiple touchdowns at $6. Take Travis Kelce on an alternate receiving yards market, 90-plus receiving yards at $2.55. 8 appearances during a broadcast like this with all the sponsorship requirements and all the stars present. Give me the under all day.
You're looking at over 7.5. Okay, there could be overtime. Over 2 times. You're banking on 2 times a quarter.
Bet overtime. That market there, I think, is like $12.
Exactly. 2 times a quarter is a heavy amount, even for someone the magnitude of Taylor Swift. And I can guarantee you one thing about this show today. It's
her 13th game, by the way. It's not as if it's her first.
This is not going to be, none of our shows this week, none of our Brekkie shows this week are going to be a Taylor Swift fans, any sort of bashing or negativity about more people watching the game or who's watching the game. Oh, these people aren't even football fans. We want more eyes on the game. Look, we're an international market. Australia and New Zealand, we represent part of the international NFL fandom. New eyes come into this sport from all over the place. So we welcome all those people that are looking to see if Taylor Swift, they're hoping she's shown more than 7.5 times. But for me, hitting that 2 times a quarter mark, you've got to think there are going to be stretches of this game with the quality of the 49ers offense that they will go on a 7 or 8 minute drive.
We're not cutting away to Taylor Swift when Brendan Ayuk's running upfield, springing Christian McCaffrey for an extra 5 years.
George Kittle delivers a beautiful, block to open up a cutback lane, and we're not going to Swift in the crowd. So I think that number's a little inflated. I think the fact that the over's been bet, that feels like almost the way that
hammer the under.
Feels like when the Cowboys over gets bet a little too much.
I wish I could bet that here in America. I don't think we can. I haven't seen that market.
So
I wish we could. You were fortunate to have that one available on tab. Laz, Taylor Swift wearing a Travis Kelce jersey is another novelty we can wager on. Yes, $1.75, no $2. I'm actually going to take the no. We saw the viral Kyle Juszczyk's wife. I hate that I can't remember her name. I'm sorry. I'm like every stereotype of sports media. I'm calling her Kyle Juszczyk's wife. But she put together this beautiful custom Kristen Juszczyk doing terrific work. She has a deal with NFL Apparel. You Googled it. Thank you for having it's right here. You Googled it and I looked on your computer. She did the custom jerseys, the bespoke jerseys with player names and such. This is a star-studded event. Taylor Swift will be dressed just gorgeously in red and Chiefs colors. I don't think she's wearing a jersey. I think it's going to be something that's befitting the occasion, something bedazzled, something that stands out, but not an 87 shirt. Give me no at $2 even money.
I'm going to go the other way.
Wow.
I'm going to take the yes. And you know why? Because, like, Travis is not trying to make Taylor Swift's accomplishments about himself. I don't think Taylor Swift is trying to make Travis's accomplishments about herself. I think she rocks the jersey or the jacket that I think qualifies as a jersey.
Now, if it has an 87 on it, it qualifies.
I feel so.
Unless it's an Abercrombie & Fitch shirt, established 1987, we're going to say no.
How much Abercrombie & Fitch did you wear back in the day?
Oh, an embarrassing amount.
Yeah, guilty. There is a particular belt that I wore that my friends and my then girlfriend and somehow became my wife despite me wearing this belt.
God bless you, Leash.
It was like a cream fabric base, navy, like a thinner navy fabric stripe running around it, and then little pink Abercrombie & Fitch logo. What was it, a moose? Is it the moose? Just printed all around it. This was during my watching copious amounts of the OC. This was, trying to dress like Luke from the OC, the great big Labrador that he was. So look, I've got some Abercrombie & Fitch in my history. There's a number of friends, former friends, probably because of that belt and some of those clothing that will vouch for that. And I like to think a wife that is very happy that that's no longer part of the repertoire.
Yeah. Well, while we're chatting about jersey numbers, a fun novelty prop that we found, I stumbled across as we were researching this, over under 19 and a half, the jersey number of the first touchdown scored. This is fun to break down. You look at the preponderance of offensive skill position players, both quarterbacks, Rashee Rice, Deebo Samuel, Kadarius Toney, Marquez Valdez-Scantling down the line. Those guys are all under. But the juice is on the over 19 and a half because you have McCaffrey in both tight ends.
And Deebo.
And most defensive players. Well, Deebo's 19.
No, you don't have Deebo.
Deebo's on the under.
Yeah,
I'm on the
I was
under.
speaking backwards.
I'm on the under $1.90 because of that.
Yeah.
But there's some meat on this bone. How much value is the juice is on the over 19 and a half?
Yeah.
Which way are you leaning?
That
I love this. This is my favorite market available.
I think,
and there are hundreds.
I think the different ways that the players under 19 and a half can score makes me lean that way. Okay, McCaffrey is a variable. Okay, McCaffrey is a variable there that can do it passing or rushing out of that.
And that's a touchdown, not a field goal. So kickers are probably out.
Yes, we would think so.
Maybe Jake Moody feeling a certain type of way.
Little trickeration can happen in these big games. I've seen it before.
Mitch said it's not happening, but
he did. But you think about Travis Kelce and you think about George Kittle, short of a little shovel pass from Patrick Mahomes, we think there's a one-dimensional way that they're going to score a touchdown. I'm not trying to limit that, but you're just looking at the different ways that some of this talent can get the ball. Deebo, we know, can do screens, straight running back carries, receiving. He can take short yardage plays and create yards after contact. He can get downfield. You're getting Brandon Ayuk under that number. We've mentioned the ascendant Rashee Rice is a feature. Quarterback sneaks are on your side. Quarterback scrambles are on your side. Isaiah Pacheco and some of the I mentioned
the tush push.
Some of the we know about the violence of Pacheco as a runner.
Yeah.
But some of the small, narrow little creases that he's been able to exploit as this season has gone along, been fantastic to behold as well. So I'm with you there, and I think that Deebo potting in there, and here we go. We've got some. There we go, John.
No, I like the one above that.
You like the one? Yeah, no, I brought that on camera before. But yeah, you were mid soliloquy, but it's a gamble wearing an all-black jersey on an NFL show, says Shane.
Listen, I mean, this is our version of the Bledisloe Cup. If I had a U.S. women's soccer jersey available, I feel just as comfortable with it against my Matilda friend. But this is the grandest stage.
It is
Super Bowl.
We have some other there. John sent it a couple that we're going to touch on. He does note that the national anthem, it's the shortest ever line.
Yeah. I'll be damned.
Well,
I'll be damned. I'm just trying. You just keep going.
You're definitely trying. We'll leave it there. And John, we see your other one. We'll get to that a little bit later as we get into some of our props. Okay, so Kareem Jervy's numbers, we're on the same side there. I think we're a little more divergent this year than, as you mentioned, not groupthink that we have between us. No. But we do like to break games down in a similar way. But
that just shows how small the margins are here and the multitude of variables in which these teams can win a significant game and that they have. But Laws, it's appropriate as we come up to halftime on our show.
Already.
We are at our halftime prop. And we are about halfway through our rundown, so this works perfectly. Usher performing at halftime of Super Bowl 58. Now, I don't fault you at all for listening to Usher's full array, his full discography. We did the same thing last year with Rihanna. This year,
And after the Super Bowl, to be honest.
15-minute set as opposed to the traditional 12-minute set for Usher. There are markets for guest appearances, Laz, and as I go through these markets on tab, again, American football tab, competitions, halftime novelties, we're going to dissect the first song that Usher's going to play. But if you look at any special guest performers, you get less than $2 back on Lil Jon, Ludacris, Alicia Keys, and Justin Bieber, which means they think more likely than not, the implied odds are that each of them will show up. I think that'd be a hell of a show.
And no shot at Usher. Usher was a pivotal, both musical and dancing icon, especially in our youth as we were coming up, youngsters, particularly some with no rhythm like me. But there's a difference between Usher in 2024 having that stage and the likelihood that he shares it with a multitude of guests, and Rihanna making her first in-concert solo appearance in years and years and years. And we had a feeling there that despite the fact the rumors about Jay-Z and some of her collaborations with multitude of artists over the year, that this was a stage that could very well just belong to her. We pegged that.
We nailed that.
So when we are looking at first, do you want to start with first song?
Yeah, let's do, that's all I got.
Okay. Well, with first song, I think you just look at, I'm going to be fully transparent here, guys. Fully transparent. This is not a market I have had a lot of success with over my time. I tend to look into how I would design a set. But looking at, there's no movement towards a deep favorite just yet. I like DJ Got Us Falling in Love at 10. Woo! And I like the way that song enters. I like the opening bars, the opening chords that get hit, the opening rhythm. I think that sets up nicely to be an ascendant tune that you have Usher revealing his presence on stage. So that's the way I lean on this one. It's not one of the shortest favorites, but there's also some decent value there.
Well, Oz, I'm going with the one that recently stateside has moved to the shortest number. Yeah. But here, is the song, by the way, if you're, my age. At $3.50, third shortest odds here. So tab presenting terrific value. The American markets are moving this to make the party starter that is available. And Lil Jon has the shortest guest appearance odds. I think that's the one that's going to get the crowd going. For me, $3.50, just judging how markets are moving at all the different sports books around Vegas. I think that's a magnificent play. You won't get the same return as DJ Got Us Falling in Love. But I feel good about it.
My question is it too early a song to bring in the guests?
Yeah, I know. It's that you first couple notes, bam, it goes.
You want the guests on there straight away.
Why not?
You want the party started early. No bills.
I was in the house at Super Bowl 56. They had damn near Last Supper. There were 12 people all facing the same direction. I said it like that because I was on the other side. It didn't have the same impact.
It was a great Super Bowl halftime show. I was not in the house for that last one. The first and only Super Bowl that I've been in the house for was Rihanna. Oh, sorry, not Rihanna. It was Shakira and J-Lo. And
hips don't lie.
An amazing performance. Yes. An incredible display. And I think given where we are in the world right now, in Las Vegas, one of the entertainment capitals of the world, it's going to be spectacular. I will say on the guests, though, look, there's not a lot of money there. When we were looking at some of those odds for the guest turn up.
Until you get to like Will.i.am at $3, Taylor Swift at $6.
I don't think there's value there. My question would be
21 Savage at $8.
David Guetta.
Marshmello at $8.
David Guetta at 7-1.
Marshmello at $8. That's decent.
It's not a hard lift to get Guetta in there, right? I'm not taking a shot at DJs. I'm not someone here who's saying, DJs do is press play on a mix and then jump around the stage. That's not my view.
Then they do this.
That's not my view. But it's not a hard lift to have David Guetta present. The only thing that could be interesting is the in-house DJ for the day is Tiesto. I'm not sure what the relationship is there. I don't know if that could be a clash, if that could be a heavyweight clash of 2000s, 2010s DJs. Is it a power imbalance? It's something we need to consider.
Color of Usher's jacket, you can get black at $2.25, white at $3, gold at $7.50. We can, there's money to be made on the halftime show. Lodge, there's also money to be made post-game. The color of the Gatorade to be dumped on the winning coach. You can also wager that no Gatorade will be dumped. I don't think that's going to happen. And you think, wow, both of these teams are red. We haven't had red Gatorade dumped on a coach in more than a decade.
Do you know why?
Does it stain the jersey?
It just doesn't taste that. Like, it's just not the best
Fair
flavor.
enough. Yeah.
Sometimes we've got to think with our stomach.
Yeah.
It's maybe something.
Well, the best two flavors for me are purple and orange.
Orange is number one for me.
For me, I'm actually going to hedge here. I'm going to put
Yes.
half a unit each on purple at $3.25.
Yeah, I like it.
And a half unit on orange.
Okay.
Each of one is orange last year. If you do half a unit on each of those, it pays $1.63, $1.62. I'm happy with either of those. Should they hit, whether or not the Chiefs win, that's the only information we have because the 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl in 29 years. But Laws, I'm going to split. I'm going to go half a unit each. Purple $3.25, orange at $4.
Chiefs have form when it comes to orange. Recent history.
They were purple in last year.
Going through the history of their time together, I'm leaning towards
Trying to win you money.
Also, we do know that they have multiple buckets on the side. There's not just one flavor. Different teams are known to have multiple flavors. So there is a bit of potluck with this. But I'm always going to go in this scenario when I've seen a team in history, in their recent history, have form with orange. It's the best flavor. You're not paying the most premium odds for it. It's not top of the pops. Give me orange. And I think this one is a classic as the Kansas City Chiefs take care.
Another shorter market that I have a lot of confidence in, Gatorade to be dumped during or after the game.
Yeah.
After at $1.57, we expect this, both of us, to be a closely contested game. That is an after a post-game bath. If it's a blowout, you get it during the game. You can get that at $2.30. So if you do feel confident in one side, or I don't know if this market's available live, if it starts to get a little lopsided, maybe jump on that at $2.30. So Laws, that covers a lot of the novelty markets, and there are loads as I look here through the Tab app. I can't even get the full number. 387 markets available for this game. So Laws, we have options now as we open up the field.
Yes.
We're going to categorize some wagers that we feel confident in, our checkdowns, our Patrick Mahomes screen passes proverbially. Then we get our chunk plays, the ones that'll move the sticks. You need to put together some chunk plays. Those are ones with wagers between, I don't know, $2 and $10, I think we said. And then your game changers, your long shots that if you hit these, you're going to have a winning day. Those are $10 or more. Laz, what is your only check down?
Mentioned how I thought this game could start for the Kansas City Chiefs offense. The over-under line for Patrick Mahomes' first completion is 8.5 yards, and I'm taking the under there. I think a quick screen, a quick out.
What a wager.
I think getting that ball out there, out of the hands quickly, staying ahead of the chains. I think that's where the Kansas City Chiefs start from a passing standpoint in this contest. So that's absolutely where I'm going to start. You're getting that at $1.80. I think that's a nice, not a huge big chunk gain, not a downfield play, but that's a nice one to keep this thing going and get your day started, get your game and that list of props that you may have on, get that moving in the right direction right off the bat.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Mahomes as mine as well. I've already mentioned over 20.5 completions at $1.87, but I'm going to go under his passing yards market here, under 270 pass yards for the game at $1.68. Lots of juice on that. A lot of that has to do with respect of the San Francisco defense.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that has to do, candidly, I think, with the fact, at least on ESPN, 49 of 65 experts are picking Kansas City to win straight up. I do think they will move the ball more regularly through Isaiah Pacheco and those functional long handoffs. Not that I think Mahomes is going to have a bad day. I think it's going to be 245, 250 yards, a touchdown or two in a game that I see as a 24-20 San Francisco type final. But my check down appropriately is a Mahomes check down under his passing yards total. Laz, what's your chunk play?
Going chunk play, I'm going to borrow a page from what you just did before, and I'm going to have a little hedge. So we're going to look at these odds and basically halve them functionally. I think there is matchup advantages to have there for the Kansas City Chiefs defensive line up front. Because someone like George Karlaftis who can really heat up during the game, and Chris Jones, who might be the best defensive player on the paddock. We'll see if they'll settle that thing in a couple days' time. But I like combining both of those.
Was he at the F1 paddock last night, or media party? The F1 paddock?
I believe so. Different paddock, slightly different, less grass.
Okay.
So when it comes to this prop here. At Chris Jones, you're getting $6.50 to lead the game in sacks, to be the game leader in Loftus is at $7.50. If what you're effectively getting is about $3.50 odds for either of those two Kansas City Chiefs players to emerge as the leading sack getter. Look, Chris Jones has had some massive moments over his career. We saw this season where he was credited with sacks that brought up $1 million bonuses. He hasn't had a Super Bowl sack.
He's due.
He's absolutely due. As for George Karlaftis, his games of late, we've seen some massive pivotal plays. He's early in his career. We've seen he has a habit of picking up steam late in games, coming up with some huge tackles for loss. He's had multiple tackles for loss production and multiple sack production in this playoff campaign alone. I look at both of those players as more than able to step up in this contest and emerge as the key defensive lineman, particularly in a production standpoint. So again, $6.50 for Jones, $7.50 for Karlaftis. Put a little on each, and you're effectively working with $3.50 odds.
Laws for mine, that $2 to $10 window. I'm going first to 20 receiving yards. You can do first to 20 rushing yards, first to 40 rushing yards, first to 20 receiving yards for the tone setter who is Deebo Samuel. I expect a lot of Kansas City's gains to be controlled, short, regular passes. San Francisco and those yards after the catch created by route schematics and great ball placement from Brock Purdy. I think Deebo Samuel is going to be the first one to break out, get past that 20 receiving yard plateau. That pays $6. More likely than not, it will go elsewhere, but it's not a 5-to-1 proposition. It goes elsewhere. $6 for Deebo to have the first big chunk play or two smaller catches to get over 20 yards. Give me that as my chunk play. Laz, what's your game changer?
I think there could be some similar tones. The drumbeat is building around some of our chunk plays here. I told you his name was going to come up, and we're going to go to number 32 for the Kansas City Chiefs. Nick Bolton, who's been a postseason game changer himself throughout his time in the NFL. A phenomenal linebacker that can impact the pass and the run. I've got him creating a turnover through the air. A Nick Bolton interception at $15 to 1. Well, $15 or 15 to 1, whichever way you like it. But Nick Bolton, for me, is one of the key figures in this entire contest. His ability to sort through the mayhem, the mess, blocking angles, the different plays from same looks and same plays from different looks that are staples of the Kyle Shanahan offense. So much is going to be on him, but I think from a mental standpoint, he has the ability to play bait when it comes to Brock Purdy over the middle. We know Brock Purdy loves to rip those in-breakers, whether it's been the big names like Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, whether it's been like Juwan Jennings stepping up and having massive moments over the middle and some courageous grabs. We know Purdy's going to look at points to plant his foot, stay tough in the pocket, and fire down the field. But that is somewhere that I think Nick Bolton can play a little cat and mouse there, play a little possum, get back, create some disruption. He's such an aware player as well that if that Chiefs line does get some tip passes at the line of scrimmage, exactly the type of player to have eyes on the ball and break on.
There is a Nick Bolton prop I do like, over 9.5 tackles and assists. That pays $2. That guy's all over the field.
Yeah.
And that's one you can justify if you're on the Chiefs like you are to think he might be the game's leading tackler.
Yes.
Or if you're on the 49ers and you think they're going to be running the ball late. Either way, there are a lot of ways that Nick Bolton can get the double-digit tackles and assists.
Correct.
At $2. That's just an aside. Boz, we had mine in here that my game changer, $13. But I found one that I like.
Ooh.
As I was digging through on tab here for $91.
Ooh. Now I'm talking.
That I think has some value.
This is going back to the Jesse Bates 101 to 1 for
friend of the show.
For MVP.
And Laz, $91 that your cell phone turns up before we leave Vegas. Yes, would pay $91. No, just $1.01. So for me, I'm the optimist. I'm going to say $91 there. But if you're not the optimist, then I would say go with a Fred Warner interception at $13. San Francisco linebackers lead the NFL in completion percentage allowed, and they're tied for the lead in interceptions created. Fred Warner had 4 of them in the regular season. For him to pick off Patrick Mahomes on one of those patented rollout, throw across the center of the field, $13. That'll be my game changer.
One of the, what do they call them? The no yes plays that goes just
no.
Yeah. Okay.
Fred Warner. And by the way, if you have any props that you are curious about. I see one or two coming in.
Absolutely.
Send them our way.
John loves
Oh, yeah, we'll get to John's now.
Isaiah Pacheco over 15.5 rushing attempts. He's on 24 for 15 and 24 in these playoffs.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's one of the great ways. I shouldn't say great ways, but it's one of the key ways you need to attack and get gains against that San Francisco 49ers defense is getting the run game going and keeping themselves off balance. And I've said it over and over. I don't mean to go blue in the face with it, but absolutely attacking the edges there.
As Puka Nacua walks past our set.
There he is, great man. The hair is flowing phenomenally today, and it's a great cardigan that Puka is rocking as well.
While we're on Isaiah Pacheco, the Chiefs run to the weak side of the formation at a 49% clip, kind of ironically. That's the fourth highest in the NFL. League average on weak side runs, 3.7. Isaiah Pacheco averages 4.9 yards per carry. His yards per carry against 8 men in the box, 3.1 to 5.8. League average 3.1. He has 5.8. In scenarios in which most running backs cannot execute, he is exceptional. He's 6th out of 44 qualified running backs and yards per attempt outside the tackles. He's a guy who I do expect to be heavily fed. And even if San Francisco knows that he's going to get the ball routinely, we need 4 carries per quarter and for him to get to that total. I do think a 17 carry type game for Pacheco. Now, if it's 17 carries for 60 yards versus 17 for 95, that to me will tell a lot about how this game script's going to go.
Huge part of the Kansas City Chiefs getting themselves into that game last year and getting themselves into an advantageous position was against a much hyped and much respected Eagles defensive front and run defense. He was able to carve out when people didn't think that was the side of the Kansas City Chiefs offense that could win a matchup. You know what they need? They need a clean game from that offensive line because that offensive line has one of their holding days. And we've spoken to players throughout this week. We've been talking to them, a little teaser of some content to come, a rule change that they'd like to see. There's a lot of bodies out there, a lot of the big boys on the offensive line, a few offensive players that would like to see holding called a little less. Interestingly, some of the defensive players think that holding isn't called enough. Funny that.
How that works. All right, Laz, we've given our tips, our picks, where we're leaning, kind of a game script, some player markets we like. There is a heavy tendency for the winner of this game, for the winning quarterback to be named MVP. Even if maybe it's like a 55-45 proposition that another player deserves it. Super Bowl 54, Patrick Mahomes still named MVP. Quarterbacks have won this award 7 times in the last 11 years. The 2 shortest odds for game MVP, Patrick Mahomes at $2.35, Brock Purdy at $3 even. If we are to find a non-QB MVP, what is your play?
Man, you've mentioned already, Deebo Samuel would be my play here. And the reason is, okay, he's a receiver. How's he going to get his touchdowns? The easy answer normally, it's something that comes up with the likes of Travis Kelce's. Well, okay, but if Kelce's having a big game, probably means Mahomes having a big game because he's feeding him.
Yes.
With Deebo Samuel, there's a variable there that he can create touchdowns without it being a flashy, big moment play, throw, or even a throw at all from Brock Purdy. It can be a handoff. It can be a screen. It can be a reverse. It can be a quick hitting 5-yard pass that doesn't look glowingly in terms of Brock Purdy's actual work on the play. But Deebo, like he so often does, doesn't go down at first contact, doesn't go down at the second attempt, and creates a 60-yard chunk play. That is how I think Deebo Samuel has a very interesting way from a receiver spot because of his unique talent, that if the 49ers win and Deebo has 2 touchdowns and one of them is a creative non-reception and the other is a reception, there's a way for him to elevate his stats as a receiver and just as an offensive playmaker beyond what the usual magnet tendency is for the focus to go straight towards a quarterback.
Yeah.
And that one's at 26-1.
That's at $26. And Laz, you mentioned it. It's a narrative award that the wow part of many of Deebo's plays and touchdowns, and it almost works against Brock Purdy for me unfairly. It's that incredible creation that he makes after the catch, that the wow isn't in the beautiful arc and trajectory of the ball. It's schematic to where you give the ball to a dangerous ball carrier, somebody who is as much of an effective running back as out of the backfield as he is a receiver. So much so that there was, even pushback from he and his camp about how much he was used out of the backfield, that he has ways of changing the game independent of quarterback, unlike other skill position players. I'm on San Francisco to win this game. Christian McCaffrey is the first name that pops up when you think non-QB MVP. He's the shortest non-quarterback in his odds at $5. That's my reflexive answer to this question. But it's funny, I'm actually going to go to the Kansas City side for the real value here, and it's somebody we've talked about a lot. Isaiah Pacheco, a guy who just time and again in plays that should be dead finds ways to turn 5 yards into 9 or -2 yards into 1 and can just wear a defense down over time. He runs perhaps harder than anybody in the NFL. You can also get him at $26, and he's the type of person, listen, it would take a Terrell Davis type performance from a running back on Kansas City to win this. But if he can be a guy who finds the end zone 2 or 3 times, that's the avenue for a $26 payout that for me presents value. So if you're on Kansas City, you want to have an MVP tip, Patrick Mahomes at $2.35 doesn't really get you excited. Isaiah Pacheco is an interesting play for me because, as John mentioned, he's over the 15.5 rush attempts. You and I are as well. If that becomes 20 carries for triple-digit yards and multiple touchdowns, rather than taking those props of him to get even 2 touchdowns, you can go to the MVP and get a $26 payout and mark it on Pacheco to win that award and kind of give the running back some overdue momentum in games of this stature.
What's one of the narratives, what's one of the themes this season? It has been that defense bites back. Now, I say that, and you say, well, why isn't a defensive player a candidate to be MVP? I've been on here before and picked Chris Jones to be Super Bowl MVP. That has happened before, but I think the reason I bring that up is because this season hasn't been about record-setting quarterback and passing yardage production. So look outside those traditional areas for the deciding game of this season. It could be deciding game, decisive factor, could be away from that traditional magnet our eyes go to when it comes to MVP voting time, where the quarterbacks, it wouldn't surprise me that in a game that we think is going to hit on the under,
yes,
in a game that we think there's plenty of quarterback props that we're looking towards the underside of, in a game where we think that defense is going to have its say and limit some things, that it is not the 350 and 3 touchdown type of 350 yards, 3 touchdown day from the quarterbacks that's going to steal the show, that we can look at some of these, not ancillary weapons, but these outside weapons, these skill position players that could be more decisive in the ultimate result and how this thing goes.
Yep, Laz, and just to recap, you are on Kansas City money line at $2 even. I'm on San Francisco, not giving the 2.5. I think the margins will be that small. I'm on the San Francisco money line at $1.80. San Francisco to win by 1-10. I like it $2.40. I do think it's going to be a close San Francisco win. We're both on the under 47.5. Nearly 400 markets available on tap. So be sure to scroll through interest angle or angles that you find particularly compelling. But again, if you are going to have a punt or any kind of wagers on this game, ask yourself, what are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Laz, I think you and I have some transcribing to do before this competition is finalized between you and I. We hope at the very least this has been informative, entertaining, edifying, and don't vilify me too much for siding with the All Blacks. I just like to be on the winning side.
I mean, do you see this stuff that see the jabs that he throws my way week in, week out? It has been a whole bunch of fun bringing this show.
I hope the phone market hits at $91. You'd be a happy man and I'd be a rich one.
Let's be real. He's definitely taking the 1 cent return on that bet. Let's peel back the curtain. You know, it's great fun to be bringing this show that we have done each different number of years now from Radio Row. We hope you have fun out there. We hope we provided some spice and some extra flavor. What's going to be a hell of a game. We've got one more show.
Yes.
On the Brekkie side of things tomorrow, where we're going to recap kind of the buzz of this place. We're going to bring in what we've learned from the week. We've got fan experience. We're going to go get a taste of. There's stars walking all around here. We're going to bring a whole bunch of that. Never know. Could be a few surprises on tomorrow's show as well before you get into a big time TV slate of studio shows to close out the week.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday mornings on ESPN and throughout the day. Re-airs myself, Nick Rewalt, alongside all of our NFL Live analysts, Dan Orlovsky, Ryan Clark, Louis Riddick with us. And then Monday morning, the coup de grace, the piece de resistance, from 9:30 a.m. Sydney and Melbourne time. We'll have a 1-hour pre-show from inside Allegiant Stadium leading up to Super Bowl 58. Kickoff at 10 a.m. wherever you're watching. It is a privilege to be part of that presentation and the celebration of American football, the pinnacle moment really in American sport. That is Super Bowl 58. The Too Long Didn't Read version of that. We are not done. Another Brekkie show tomorrow. 3 half-hour NFL blitzes, 1 full-hour NFL blitzes. But for now, we say farewell from Radio Row for Laurie Horesh. I'm Phil Murphy. Thank you for watching.